Okay, so just to pick up, I'm going to again copy this tree, use this for the shadow, Control T, see, start off by skewing it, distorting it, again just paying attention to where my sun is, which is essentially like the sun is setting back here. So you skew it a little bit more. And essentially just make sure it's placed near the bottom of the tree. Hit enter, and I'm going to make it a softer shadow. By going to blur, Gaussian blur. There we go. That's pretty good. Yeah, so just give it a softer look, maybe just a little bit. Yeah, that's good. That's better. Again, just make sure that the tree is below, or the shadow is below the tree. And I'm going to bring down the opacity of that a little bit more. And at this point, I'm going to take that tree and the shadow. Let's see, might have to turn auto select back on, see if this works. Here you go. The tree and the shadow, just holding down shift and selecting both of those. If that doesn't work, just come over to your layers and hold down shift. You can select both of them. Hold down alt. We'll just copy this around a couple times. Scale it. Just to get a few more of these trees. I'm going to scoot this one over. Again, copy this. Put one right in front, make it a little bit larger. And just copy it 2 more times. Make this just slightly smaller. And the other thing, a few other things I'm going to do just with the trees, just to give it a better look. I'm going to, instead of them all having the exact same opacity, I'm going to change them around. Just some of them are just slightly darker than others. This one obviously I need to chop off that shadow because it doesn't go all the way around the building. So again, make sure I'm on that layer. Select that, select inverse, delete. It gets rid of the shadow, but it keeps this little part. Change the opacity of this one. Again, change the opacity. I'm going to get rid of this shadow on this one. And I'm going to make it look like this tree is in between these two buildings. Make sure you're on the layer. And the last one, just make this a little bit darker. There, just slight variation amongst the trees. And just so I don't have all these individual layers just hanging out here, I'm going to make a folder. Double click and enable it, trees. And I'm going to put all these trees into this one folder. I just turn those on or off individually. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some people in here for scale. Again, there's a few to pick from. Again, this one is from the website Immediate Entourage. Throw these in here. Control T, and just make this a little, just slightly smaller to put them in the. I'm gonna flip them. Oops. Slightly smaller still. And again, just give them some fake shadows, copy. Select the pixels, delete, edit, fill, Control D, and just as best as you can, make these the fake shadows by skew, distort, perspective. And again, trying to match up the way the trees, the fake shadows that we created for the trees. Again, try to match that up as best as you can. Bring down the opacity. And give it a Gaussian blur. Bring down the opacity a little bit more. There we go. And just so they don't stand out too much, and just to like give it the overall tone, I'm going to bring down they're a little bit too bright. So I'm gonna I'm going to adjust that. I'm going to give them a, just to them, I'm going to give them a vibrance. So I want to select pixels, vibrance, there you go, something along those lines. Just that it stays with the overall image. And the last thing I'm going to do, make it look like there's some light, like a light source coming from in here, from inside the building. So the way I'm going to do that, temporarily I'm going to turn off the trees, and I'm going to turn off those people right there. And what I want to do is with my paintbrush, I'm going to make a new layer. Increase the size of it, make sure it's like a fuzzy brush. I'm going to give this like a yellow color. And I'm going to bring the opacity down. Like about halfway. Maybe a little bit more. A third of the way. That's good. And just very, very gently just paint this part in. If you go a little bit too far, don't worry about it. You essentially want to add it, like, make sure this is low enough where you start to, like, add it up. Just very gently, just like brushing over it. There we go, that's fine. And now use my lasso tool to come through here and clean it up a little bit, only because I want the light source looking as if it's coming from inside the building. Select inverse and delete. Control D. And I'm going to bring this transparency down a little bit. So it just looks like there's a light glow coming from inside there. I'm going to bring it down a little bit more. And if I bring the people back and the trees, oh, that's in the wrong spot. And you drag this down below the trees. There you go. So now that's in the correct location. It's above that, but below my trees. Perfect. So that's the final. So essentially, what we started off with is just a white rendering, but with a little bit of Photoshop work, we're able to turn it into something that's a little bit more pleasing than just a simple white rendering, and just by adding some fake trees and some people. The last thing just to cover, if you happen to have some Illustrator files, trees or cars or people, and you want to use them in Photoshop. So for example, in this file's all silhouettes, you can just open this up in Photoshop. Just pick your resolution, pick your color mode. in my case, I just was dragging it into Photoshop. You could also open it. I'll change my resolution to 300. I'll hit OK. Now I have these trees, and say, for example, I'm going to use this tree. So it started off as an Illustrator vector file, but now it's in Photoshop, so now it's pixelated, right? And essentially all I would need to do is just copy and paste copy that, paste it, and now I have a tree in here from Illustrator that I can now start using in Photoshop.